All right, we're live. We're live in Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live in Ted's Facebook groups. So, hey guys, welcome. I'm James Barber, and I've got Ted McGrath here. For those of you who don't know, Ted McGrath is a massively successful entrepreneur and online marketer with multiple businesses, including a great business called Message to Millions. And every week he goes live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as well as in the Facebook group. So I'll put a link to the Facebook group in there. But today, Ted, we're talking about one of the questions we kept getting asked was, how does someone, when they start their business, advertise economically and still be able to generate leads? And you were talking about this, the beginner business launch. And one of the first questions would be like, how would you get your first 100 warm relationships? How does that happen?
Yeah, so it's a good question, because I think a lot of times people try to rush initially into advertising. And so if you don't have an advertising budget, right? Or you're starting a business and you're brand new and you don't have money, right? You have one of two choices. You go and borrow the money, number one. Number two, you get investors. But number three, the smart choice is go out and connect with relationships. Like, go out and find those relationships that are going to actually help you grow your business. And this is the biggest mistake that people make in today's digital world. They forget that they already have warm relationships who care about them and are interested in them. And they forget that those 10, 15, 20 people are actually a gold mine in terms of, one, helping you improve your skill when you're first starting a business. Because as a business owner, skill sets that you need when you're starting a business are your communication and your ability to communicate a message. Number one. Number two, you need to have the ability to confront people and literally like be there with them on the phone and actually pitch a new business idea to them or pitch a new message to them. Number three, you need to have the ability to talk about your program or your product or your service. And number four, you need to have an ability to enroll people into that and sell it. And so your warm network is the greatest training ground for you, number one. And it's also the greatest lead source initially that doesn't cost you any money. And that's all I call it the Fred Flintstone era, where literally you got 20 people in your Rolodex. Jokingly, it's really in your phone, right? And if you really started to write down all 20 people that you knew, you could actually you'd realize, wow, I know. You might think you only know 10, but then you're like, I know 20. You might think you only know 20. You're like, wow, I know 30 people. You might think you only know 30. You're like, I know 40 or 50 or 60. And I had to do this when I was first out of college at the age of 21, when I had to go get a job with New York Life. And the primary thing they made me do is write up your warm market. And I almost never got hired with the company because they're like, you're out of college, you don't know anybody. But as I started to write things down, like, okay, I know my dad, right? And then I've met friends of my dad. And so I would write down people that he knew. And then I know some of my friends who are, new entrepreneurs who are 23 years old, and I would write them down. And pretty soon I thought like I knew nobody, but I was like, wow, I actually know like 10 business owners. This is kind of cool. And so the whole brainstorming process of writing down your warm market, it turns you into a marketer and a networker, which is one of the primary skills you need to build any business. Like, listen, we're building a new business called Got Dreams right now. And what we're doing to build the business is put out our communication lines and go, who do we know? Who do we know? This is how businesses are built. And if you think it's just built through, getting online and connecting with people in Facebook groups, you're 100% wrong. Is that the secondary strategy I would take? Absolutely. Because the secondary strategy is like new networking with people that you don't know, and going to networking events offline, and then networking in groups online, such as Facebook groups. And then the third piece is actually, now once you have this network developed and built, is making sure you have a marketing funnel to send them through. So that's everything we're going to talk about in today's program. Those basic three phases is, one, how do you get the first 100? Number two, meaning 100 people by picking up the phone and calling all the people you wrote down on your list. And then number two, how do you then move that to networking groups of networking and connecting with more people offline and online? And offline means like in the physical universe, you go to like a building where you network with people. Online means you go into the digital universe and you network with people in groups, right? And then the third phase is obviously what I just said, which is launch a marketing funnel, because at some point when you have an abundance of people, those people need to actually go through kind of a customer journey where they're funneled through your customer journey, because as a business owner, you don't have time to go network with everybody, go tell them about your free gift, and then go tell them about your cool digital product, and go tell them to book a coaching session and then get on the coaching session and sell them. You don't have that time. So the marketing funnel actually collapses time, which allows you to create a kind of a customer journey where they go through the sales funnel that makes it easy for you to get on the phone, to where everybody that you've kind of harvested these relationships, they're at the top of the funnel. It's like, where do I put them now? I've got 100 people, right? Where do I put these people? Just drop them in the funnel and let them kind of, the quality ones go through to get on the phone with you and then sell them. So that's kind of the overview of how I build a business, James. And we can start with any question you have on like the first 100 of where you want to go there.
Yeah, well, it's a great. This is fantastic. When someone is doing their first to 100, obviously you can go through and you can make the list, and you can go through your phone, you can go through your emails and contact people. What would you say the first thing to do? They pick up the phone, they're going to go, okay, my Aunt Sue owns a business, or my friend Joe.
Right.
When you make that call, what's the strategy to engage them without going, hey, I've got this business, Aunt Sue, give me money? I mean, how do you do it?
Right. So there's three phases to it. That's a really good question. There's really three steps, basically, maybe even four. So let's just walk through this, right? Number one is you call people up and you basically say, if I'm calling Joe up, I go, hey, Joe, how are you? Okay. And Joe could be somebody that I talk to every 30 days. Could be somebody that I talk to like every 90 days, or somebody I could talk to 6 months and beyond. So first, as you're creating your relationships, anybody you talk to within 30 days, like you might talk to somebody every week, or within 30 days, once a month, those are hot relationships. So your hot relationships go up top. These are like your top 10, right? And then below that, anybody beyond 30 days, like 30 to 90 days, is warm. And anybody kind of 90 days plus, right, is a little bit of a colder relationship, right? Call them semi-warm, right? So you make a list of all of them. And if you talk to Joe every week, you might just like call him up, and it's pretty much the same conversation. Like, hey man, how are you? Right? If you call somebody up who you've been talked to in 45 days, who's more of a warm relationship, you're like, hey, how are you? It's been a while since we talked. What's new, right? But either way, you're catching up and you're going, what's new with you? And they're like, well, I went out on the fishing boat, last week. I'm saying that because I'm looking at a fishing boat right now. And somebody's like, cool. You're like, cool. The fishing boat, how was it? You catch some fish? Yeah. And they go, what's new with you? Well, just got done with a weekend. I was out doing some wave running, something in reality of what they're talking about, right? Or, hey, I was, just in the weekend now, I was out at some social party. It was kind of fun, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm really excited about today, because it's Monday, is, I'm launching this new business, and I'm helping people do this so they can have that. And that's all you say. In the first conversation, it's all about just delivering your message. And somebody might go, oh, wow, like, you're doing that. Okay, well, you and I have been friends for a while. I could actually see you doing that. Joe might say that in return. But the point is, it's totally non-invasive. It's totally non-threatening. Joe's my friend. I don't want all of a sudden Joe to think I'm going to start selling him. And he's like, cool. Yeah. And then you might go in, if you're seasoned enough and you've been through my Message to Millions training and these modules, and you're like, and Joe's like, wow, how'd you kind of get into that? I kind of know your background. Well, you don't know everything about my background, Joe. So when I was 21, I started in the insurance business, and this happened, and then this happened. And then I did this, and then I did that. And then I realized I had a message inside me, and I really wanted to help other people get their message out. So that's why I created Message to Millions. And then Joe's like, wow, that makes sense. So even your closest relationships, they need the message, and they need the story because they need to know things about you that they don't necessarily know now, that piece the story together where they go, wow, that totally makes sense. And then they're going to go, oh, that's awesome. Now, anybody who's a friend or anybody who's pretty much a decent human being, right, is going to go, hey, like, any way I can help you? Or, oh, that's really cool, man. Like, what's your next step? Somebody's going to ask some engaging question. And sometimes they won't, and it doesn't mean they're not a decent human being, and they won't simply because they might think that, wow, if I ask how I can help, is he going to ask me for something or try and sell me? But most people will ask how I can help, right? But regardless of where the discussion goes, you leave it there. It's a 10-minute cycle. And at the end, this is the way you close the call. The way you close the call is you go, great. So I'm really glad you got to know what I'm doing. Hey, you and I have been friends for a while. And Joe, like, you're not even you're not an entrepreneur who I'm working with. I don't know, maybe one day you'll be interested in this, but I just want to run by my program that I've developed and get your opinion on it. So even though you're not an entrepreneur, I guess we'd have a next call and you could kind of imagine that you're an entrepreneur. And I just want your opinion as a friend. What do you think about this program I put together? And I'll literally walk you through like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and get your thoughts. What do you think about that? Joe's like, great. And so you book a call with him next week and you get on the phone with him and you go, and you show up on the second call and you go, hey, so here's the program. And, and this is basically what it is. Like, imagine yourself being an entrepreneur. Now, all of a sudden, Joe's like, well, you know what? Damn, like, maybe I should be an entrepreneur. Or maybe Joe's like, listen, I'm never going to be an entrepreneur, but I know so-and-so and so-and-so who might be a good fit for you. Okay? Now, regardless of what Joe says, okay, whether he's an entrepreneur or not an entrepreneur, because let's say an entrepreneur is your ideal client, you've walked him through, you've gotten his opinion and you've gotten his feedback, right? And you might ask him at the end of the call, like, okay, what else would you like to see in a program like this? Because now you're kind of surveying here, right? Now you're getting some survey data of like, what else would you like to see in a program like this that's not in the program? Because, oh, I'd like to see X, Y, Z. Okay, great. Now, let's say Joe is an entrepreneur and he's your friend, okay? And you get to the end of the call. He goes, this was really cool, man. And you go, hey, Joe, one other thing. Can we have another call? Because part of what I'm doing is booking free consultations with my potential clients. And I know you might not be a potential client because you're just kind of like, maybe I should be an entrepreneur. Or let's say Joe is an entrepreneur. He's like, I am an entrepreneur, but I'm your friend and maybe I'm not going to do this. You go, either way, Joe, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're my friend or whether you want to do this or not with me, I'd love to just take you through my free consultation and just ask you questions about your vision and ask you questions about the challenges that you might be facing getting into a business like this. And then lay out the plan and path of how I might be able to help you get there. And hey, we go way back, man, but like, it's not going to be weird at the end. If you like it and you want to join my program, like, since you're a friend, I'll give you like a really dope friend discount, like 90% off. Because I just want my friends in my programs, but I realize if they don't pay something or anything, like, nobody shows up. So, and then maybe like, if you do like the free coaching call and you're like, hey, I do want to join this group, maybe you introduce some people to me because I gave you like 90% off and you help me market this thing. What do you think? Joe's like, yeah, whatever, man. And by the way, Joe, in our next call, if you're at the end, like, dude, I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't, because it's not going to be a money thing, Joe, because I'm giving 90% off, right? But at the end, if you're like, dude, I don't want to do this, then just tell me, like, this isn't for me, but maybe you know some people that it is. So let's set up the call. And that's how it goes. So then you get on the third call, and on the third call, you would have to know something about enrollment. In our Message to Millions training, we teach the enrollment system. And then you go through the enrollment process and you either enroll Joe or you get to the end and Joe's like, this isn't for me, dude. Clearly, like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I thought I did. I don't. Okay, cool. But Joe, what networking club should I go to? What friends of mine can you introduce me to? I'll literally take them through the same process. It's totally non-threatening, right? It's just like help. It's telling people what I do. And Joe's going to be like, well, I don't know. What social clubs are they a part of? Are you a part of, Joe? I go to the gym. Okay. Is anybody there? Yeah, this guy. What networking clubs are you part of, Joe? Well, I only network with my office peers. Anybody at your office maybe looking to become an entrepreneur? Yeah, Sammy is, right? What church do you go to? We go to the same church. So who at the church? Oh, Jimmy at the church. So you're writing them down, kind of like Columbo. You're discovering things, right? What about any groups online? Are you part of any groups that I should join online? That you just kind of dally in, or whatever, any groups that might be fit for this. Well, I don't hang out in entrepreneur groups. Okay, Joe, I got 3 people from you. Can you make the introduction to these 3 people for me personally through email or text? Yeah, done deal. And now you've just grown your network by 3 people. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And it's actually, look, it's how we have conversations anyway, right? You're not going to, it's like when you meet somebody you haven't seen him for a while, you're not going to be like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 3 years. By the way, here's all this information. You're just creating a regular conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
cool.
always the thing, like when I go to a networking event, I'm never the person who walks around with 20 business cards. It's the tackiest thing ever, right? Yeah. I go to a networking event and I develop 1 or 2 relationships. I just hang out, and I'll attract 1 or 2 people in the room who are going to be solid people that I'm going to do something with. You don't need to be 20. You need 1 or 2. So basically the first part of the process is getting your framework right for when you build a business. This is the training ground to call everybody, tell them the message and the story. Every business, the message and the story needs to be told. I mean, James, look, when we had our first meeting with our first investor meeting like 2 weeks ago, all we did was tell them the story. Right. We didn't ask for money. Then I went for the second meeting. And in the second meeting that I had with this person, I literally told them the story again, right? But kind of walked them through more particulars of here's what our product and here's this. And because they're an investor, potential investor, like, oh yeah, I think I might be interested I want to invest in something like this. Okay, great. And then the third meeting is you go get the money. You do the actual enrollment conversation. But it's 3 things. And every time you do it, let the client naturally reach. And when the master of all masters of this, right, was my mentor, Mo. He would literally like sit in an enrollment conversation and be so good at asking the questions about what the person wanted for their future. And he would just sit there at the end of the conversation. And he would just sit there. And invariably they'd be like, how do I get started? Right? How do I get started? I've never seen anything like it. And if you ask somebody like Mo to go out and close a deal, he's not a closer. He's a master, like attractor. He's a master. He's a master getting people to reach. Right. And that's an art. And so each call you need to think about is, are you laying it out there enough to where they're curious to go, tell me more in the first call about message and story. In the second call, are you laying it out there enough to get their feedback to go, wow, this program's interesting. I want to know more about it. And if you pause and let somebody talk, most of the time they're going to reach and they're going to go, how do I get involved, man? And that is the best sales process ever. So that's phase 1 that's how you do it. And if they're beyond 30 days, here's the thing. It doesn't matter. It's the same process. You haven't talked to them in 30 days. You catch up, you get familiar with them. They're going to go, what are you doing? And you tell them your message and story. Then you invite them to the second call and you go, hey, I want to walk you through the program I've developed to get your feedback and your opinion. Wow, this is really cool. Great. I'd love to book a free consultation with you. And somebody beyond 90 days, very similar conversation. Hey, it's been a while. Even if it's a year, hey, it's been a long time. You might just catch up for a while. And at the end of the call, tell them the message. At some point, he's going to go, tell me what you do.
Makes sense. And that leads into the second question, which was the networking online and offline, right? So, you're talking about Mo and his ability to just sit there and accept. I've actually seen you do similar things when you're at live events. And at the end of the day, when you're going to be talking about your program, you literally go, okay, here it is. And you wait and you just sit there. And at first when I saw it, I was like, ooh, but then the next thing you know, people are like raising their hands.
It's the most uncomfortable silence of eternity. It's a 4 or 5 second lag and it feels like an eternity.
Yeah, but it's amazing the response that happens. It's people reaching for it. So talk about that. Then you've made these connections, and you also said the next phase would be the online offline networking. How does that work?
Yeah. So step 2 is then offline networking and online networking. They're the exact same basic principle. Okay. So the fact that one of them is walking into a building and communicating with somebody, when you're doing it online, it's the same exact thing. It's just a different vehicle. You're chatting with somebody in a group, or you're chatting so much and eventually you get them on the phone because you're going to want to talk on the phone. But it's the same principle. So I'll talk to you about how I did it offline, because this is where I mastered growing my business. So when I was offline, I'll give you an example, okay? And I'll give you two examples of this, right? One is like a free group and another's a paid group. So when I first started growing my business, I would go into my local community and just join free groups. And I would go to groups that had my audience. So if I'm looking for coaches and consultants and experts in service businesses and entrepreneurs, I'd go to any one of those groups that had those. And at the same time, I would start up my own group. So I would have my own networking group in the community, and then I would go to other networking groups. Now, if you're doing this online, let's say with Facebook, like I have my own Facebook group, and right now we're actively joining other Facebook groups. Okay. Same concept, right? You have your house and they have their house, and together sometimes houses can get together and build mansions, right? So when I would go to the local community where they're free, I would attend the group, and the first time at the group, I might just come as a participant, or just to develop, the rapport with the people there. But many times I would just go to a group, and because I was good at communicating and good at networking, and I wasn't going to a group to meet 40 people at once, but I was going to a group to strategically meet 1 or 2 or 3 people and have enriching conversations with. So by the time I would join one group and I would talk to 1 or 2 or 3 people and they found out what I did, they were engaged with me, right? And so from those groups, I would actually book a free coaching call right on the spot. So I would engage with somebody, and it would be the same sequence to be like, great. So, eventually you say, what brought you to this group? And they're like, oh, I joined this group because, I want to just network with other people in the coaching space. They're like, oh, great. What do you do? Well, I'm a coach myself. Okay, cool. And then eventually they'd ask me, Ted, what do you do? And I go, well, I help coaches and entrepreneurs and speakers, etc. I really help them with their life story and their message, and I help them package it around their products and services so they can reach millions of people online. And they're like, wow. I go, yeah. And so at this point, I could keep talking, which I'm good at, or I could switch the conversation and tell me a little bit about yourself as a coach. Now, why am I doing this? I want to gather information from them. Okay. I want to gather information from them. So I listen to them. They're like, I'm a business coach and I want to do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, great. What challenge are you facing right now as a business coach? They're like, getting clients is really tough. I don't know how to get clients. What's tough about not getting clients? What's tough about getting clients? I don't even have a program yet. So I'm just asking curious questions, right? To get to know them. And that's a key part of networking anywhere. The more information you have about somebody, the easier it is to sell them on the things that they want. So my sequence is tell them my message and what I do, and a little bit about my story. Number 1, engage with them and ask them some questions. Number 2, to find information about them. And number 3, at some point, they're going to say to me like, wow, how did you build your business? Right? How did you build your business teaching coaches and experts in service businesses? And I'd be like, and I might tell them my story if I haven't already. Well, I'll be like, you heard my story. So, and then I'll tell them my system. So it goes message and story first. Then it goes engage them and ask questions about them. They're going to ask questions back to you. And that at that point, you need to have your system, like my message to millions system, or your blueprint, my message to millions blueprint. You call it a blueprint, a system, a program, whatever. So at some point they're going to go, well, how do you do what you do? And if they don't, you just insert it. So they go, how do you do what you do? Well, it's simple. I created, the message to millions system, which is basically a training on the 7 steps that help me grow my business. And I teach other people how to do the same thing. Wow, that's interesting, right? So now they know your message and story, you know something about them, they know you have a system. And then at the end of the conversation, like you might, after 20 minutes, want to end off and go talk to somebody else. But at the end of the conversation, you might say something like, hey, it was really great talking to you. By the way, one of the things I would love to do, anybody who I meet brand new that I really like, I'd love to just give you a free consultation. And I know we just met, But I think it'll be really cool because it's going to talk about your vision for growing your business, and it's going to help you with that challenge about getting clients that you told me you have. And then, at the end of the call, like I can walk you through my Message to Millions system. And if you like it, maybe there's some coaching or training you can do with us. If not, then that's cool. I have another relationship, and you and I are like, pals now, and we can help each other with referrals and things like that. And they go, cool. And you literally set it up there on the spot. And that's how you go network. And that's all it is. Message and story. Know your message and story. That's in your toolkit. Find out something about them. Know your system of when to bring it up in the conversation and tell them you have a system, and then book a free consultation. And that's networking. And you would follow the same exact process online in a Facebook group, because it's just being curious and engaging the other person. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. In fact, I'm going to put the Facebook group down here, because every Tuesday you give away a free gift in the Facebook group that it directly impacts what you're talking about. So if you guys go to the Facebook group, which is our Message to Million Facebook group, there will be a video that Ted's putting out today in our Facebook group where you can actually say, yes, I want this free gift, and you'll have it. So I'm going to put that down there as we're rolling next.
Yeah. And go ahead. And the cool thing about this too is that when you're networking, say offline, you're going places, because there's a lot of people still going places today to meet people in person. There's a lot of people. We had a client, brand new client that we just brought on like 2-3 months ago. I helped coach him before his event. He just did $250,000 at his event with 70 people in the room. And so, and he crushed it. And so it's like, there's still people doing events, right? There's still people going to networking groups. So you can do this in the physical universe of like, go to a free networking event in your local community. But the other way to do it too, that really helped me build my business, is you have to join masterminds and other groups. And like we have our elite private mastermind. So when you join a mastermind that has substantial value, right? And you've invested in yourself, the quality of people that are going to be there to network with are much higher. I'll give you an example. I joined a group years ago. I'm not going to say who the person is, but I found this person was a speaker, and I found everybody who went to watch him. Like I was part of the group because I wanted to learn stuff about finances and business and stuff. But I realized everybody who went to these seminars was so engaged that I knew they wanted to become speakers just by watching them. So when I would go around and network with people, and they'd be like, what do you do? And I tell them, yeah, I help speakers and coaches and consultants, whatever. Basically, if they're a speaker, I help them, create their own seminars and launch their business. If they're like coach, consultant, whatever, I help them launch online. And people go, wow, like you do that? I didn't know that about you. I knew you're part of this group. I didn't know that about you. And I would engage with them. And in that situation, rather than inviting them to a free coaching session, I would invite them to my seminar. And I must have done in this group $500,000 in revenue in 1 year, just connecting with the people there and inviting them to my seminars.
It's incredible.
Right. So when you look at this of like and this is all offline, this is no online marketing, nothing. So when you look at like, how are you eventually going to advertise online? Well, if you're part of free groups and then you're part of paid groups, and you use this methodology that works in both areas, it shows you the mentality of investing in oneself. When you go to a free group is free. It doesn't mean you can't get clients, because you can. But when you go to a paid group, the quality of people there is different. So now the same methodology can yield literally, I would say 10x in a group you've invested in versus a group that's free. Pretty interesting, right? So now this whole thing in the next phase this is when you go, okay, well, how do I do this digitally online with like a Facebook group? So go ahead, James.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So, one of the great things we're learning and you're moving into is the engagement within groups, the engagement in reaching out to other people in groups, ethically, because there are some groups that don't want you to reach out and touch touch their membership because that's their group. But how do you do that? That's an economical way to do it by building groups. Do you want to talk now about when to launch the funnel? Would that be the next step, or do you want to stay within the?
Yeah, well, let's talk now though, this piece, and then we'll go into the funnel briefly. And so the next piece is like, okay, so the same networking principles apply online. There's absolutely nothing different in principle about how what I did offline relates in what you do online. And so the principle of it is like, even this morning, I went into a Facebook group, right? And I joined a group, and I reached out to one of the guys, and because obviously I have a business and I'm known and I built up my business, you know, I'm not a stranger to creating strategic partners. So there's two ways I could approach this, right? Number one, I can go into a group that has a leader of a group, and I could just approach this person and just DM them, right? Just message them and go, hey, you know, I've joined your group. You know, I've seen your stuff online. You might have seen my stuff online. You know, I'm wondering if there's any way we can work together and partner in any capacity to actually, you know, help each other. And so this is what I used to do like all the time when I would go to other groups that I would be part of, that where I had my own group. So this is the difference when you have your own group. So this is the next phase of like, if you have your own group and somebody else has a group, you have an asset. So it's kind of like when I had a seminar stage and somebody else had a seminar room, I was like, great, I have a seminar stage and they have a seminar stage. Let's swap. I have a Facebook group, they have a Facebook group, let's swap. Or I have a podcast, they have a podcast, let's swap. So I can comfortably go into a group because I built up my brand, and I can talk to anybody who's probably seen my ads because they reached 8.5 million people last year. And I can go, hey, my name's Ted. You might have seen my stuff. I've seen your stuff. Let's see if we can do something together. Now, so when you have assets and you've created a name for yourself, it's easier to go in and do these things and do deals faster, right? But if you're brand new and you don't have assets, you can't go in like that. Right. Okay. And so you got to go in from a different mentality. Is number one, you got to first create your assets. So go start your Facebook group if you don't have one. Just like when I first started my first networking group offline, I was like, I have a group. So I went to go talk to other group leaders. I was like, hey, let me come speak at your group and you speak at my group. Now, in the beginning, start a group, okay? And then you can go to other people who have groups. And I'm painting the future for you right now. At some point when your group is bigger, you're going to be able to go to people and be like, hey, I've got 5,000 people in my group. You've got 5,000 people in your group. Let me do a live in your group. You do a live in my group, right? So it's the trading of assets, and like people want to do things with you because you have assets. Your assets are your skill sets, right? And your abilities, right? So somebody might want to do something with me because I could teach them how to speak. It's a skill set I have. Somebody might want to do something with me because I have a Facebook group, right? That's 5,000 people. Somebody might want to do something with me because I have an email list that has 250,000 people. Somebody might want to do something with me because I spend $2.5 million in advertising every year. Somebody might want to do something, right? There's all these reasons. So you got to look at assets that you have as you're going to create relationships. And those assets help you get clients faster and get strategic partners faster. Now, let's say you're starting from ground zero and you're just starting your Facebook group and you hardly have anybody, and somebody else has their Facebook group. Well, of course, just like offline, you want to go join networking groups. Online, you're joining Facebook groups. And you're literally just joining the group and you're engaging with people there. Like you see somebody put in a comment there and you engage with their comment. You go, wow, that's really cool. You know, I love what you said. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And all of a sudden you're in a conversation and you're engaging with them. And people are getting to know you. And of course, at some point you're DMing them, right? So you're taking them off the public chats to develop a relationship with them. Just kind of like at a networking event, you might be talking in a group of people and there might be 5 or 6 people there, but all of a sudden you're engaged with this one person and you guys just start talking directly to each other. Well, that's what the DM's for, right? And you're engaging and you're communicating with them, and you could use the same methodology as you're engaged in these groups to literally go, tell me a little about what you're doing, right? And then they go, what are you doing? You go, and you tell them your message story. And then you go, yeah, great. Tell me a little bit more about like what challenge are you facing in your business? So you get information from them. So 1, you share your message story. 2, you get information from them. 3, you tell them a little about your system. 4, you invite them to a free consultation. And so the question is, how many networking groups do you want to attend offline? How many networking groups do you want to attend online? If you had like 5 groups, right, that you were really engaged in, you could be booking free consultations all day, every day, nonstop. And at this point, you haven't spent any money on advertising. And you should have a goal where, when I first started the insurance business, the goal was I need at least 10 free consultations every week. That's your goal. So the question is, like, how many licks does it take to get to the middle of a Tootsie Roll Pop? How many groups does it take for you to join? And how many people does it take for you to engage with to actually book 10 free consultations a week? Choose how you want to do it. Number 1, in phase 1, you're calling everybody that you know, because that's your practice, right? That's you developing your skill sets as a pro. That's you doing it to where, like, you're developing your warm network with the people that you already know. Phase 2 is you're going to networking groups, offline and online. And within that, it's the same exact principles, the same methodology of conversation. Obviously, one is chat and one is communicating in person. But the end result is get them on a free consultation. So through offline and online, you need to book 10 free consultations a week. And you need to either be in 2 groups offline, 3 online, 5 groups online, 0 offline. It's up to you, but you need to engage and start networking is the point.
I love it. I love it. And the cool thing is that, when I was first starting out, because I come from the entertainment world and moved into the marketing world, it's like, well, what do I know in the marketing world? But everybody has expertise in some area, right? And if you're going to be communicating with people, you can share your expertise in whatever that is as the conversation starter and make that, that's the segue into getting into your business.
That's absolutely right. And it's just the methodology. If you know message, story, get information about them. Here's my system, book a free consultation. That's what you're doing in phase 1. That's what you're doing in phase 2. And now we can go to phase 3, which is actually launching your marketing funnel.
Yeah. So talk about that. So obviously you have to talk to the people. You have to get them interested and engaged. You have to, whether that's online or offline, right? You're practicing, you got your methodology down a little bit, you're going forward. And now, okay, how do I actually market this? Tell us about the funnel and how it works.
Yeah. So basically the funnel, and I just kind of had this realization right now. Of course, this is why I would build my funnel this way. It's basically cloning that conversation. So in the beginning, phase 1, phase 2, there's only so much you can do to talk to so many people, engage in so many chats, right? Well, in phase 3, I said message, system, free consultation. Now look at the funnel. The free gift is the message. So the free gift is actually telling people what your message is. Okay, like we have one online right now that says get paid online for your expertise. It's a free gift we're giving away. So the free gift is now replacing me as an individual telling people that. Then they download the free gift and they go to the sales page, and the sales page gives them a glimpse of what the system is. And there's an ask to go buy this $19 product. Then they buy the $19 product, and then they go book a free consultation. And on the free consultation is where you sell them into your program, whether it's a group coaching program or a one-on-one coaching program, or a hybrid of a group program that comes with, like a 3-day virtual event, or a hybrid of a one-on-one, a group program, and a 3-day virtual event or 2-day virtual event, what have you. So the point is, the funnel mirrors the activity that you've been developing in phase 1 and phase 2 and becoming an expert in. So now when you go to do the funnel, you're just communicating your message. Then they splash through your system. Oh, for $19, they can get a taste of the system. They book a free consultation, and you're off. And you've cloned this skill you developed, and now you've put it into a funnel. And it's you communicating through a marketing funnel now that replaces you now to some degree. And if you wanted to go into the groups and you're talking to people now, let's say in chat, and they're like, wow, how do you do that? Or like, that's really cool what you do. Oh, here's a free gift. Let me just give you a free gift. You can go check this link out. Boom, they go to the free gift, they buy the product, they book a coaching session, or they're so engaged, forget the free gift and forget the $19 product. They're so engaged, hey, just go book a free consult with me. So the funnel can be used in any way now, but it becomes an asset, right, of things that are now automating and making life easier for you. And now you can integrate them into this networking world that you're in. And then eventually at some point, that funnel that you're using, like for example, one of my clients, Moitza, when she first launched her funnel that we helped her develop inside her Facebook group, she had 256 people opt in for a free gift, and she had 50 people buy her product, and she had something like 40 or 30 free coaching consultations built. 30 free consultations booked. She had to shut down her funnel because she was overwhelmed with the number of people booking, and that wasn't even advertising yet at that point.
Wow.
Right. So this is how you can start to do it. The funnel becomes like, it actually becomes like a team member that helps. It's like automated and makes the process smoother. And then as you start doing that, then you can go, okay, now it's time for me to spend some advertising dollars on this thing that I built. And how do you get the advertising dollars? Simple. If you did phase 1, you made money. If you did phase 2, you made more money. And all along the way, you should take 10% of the money you make in phase 1 and phase 2, and you put that aside in an advertising fund. So when you are ready to launch with your funnel, boom, there's your advertising dollars to start testing.
It's so systematically simple, and it's just about taking the action, right? You know, I think, what do you say, Ted, when people come up and go, well, I don't know what to do, right? You've laid out step by step by step by step. The only reason someone wouldn't take action based upon what you just laid out is, I'm guessing it's some sort of fear of actually making that call, right? It's just,
yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. And really, like, okay, so I've given the blueprint of how you go do it. So now what do you need to do? In our Message to Millions training, you know, you're going through, what is my message? You're going through, what is my story? So you need to develop all that so you can take the action. But once you develop all that, you're taking the action in your training on phase 1, phase 2. And by the time you get to phase 3, most people go, how do I make sure a marketing funnel is successful? Well, number one, you've been surveying. You don't know that you have, but all along the way, you've been asking questions in phase 1 and phase 2, and you've been getting answers from clients. So you're going to see a repetitive pattern that goes, wow, this is the challenge. This is what should go in my funnel. This is what my free gift should be. It should solve this challenge. So when you're launching online, you're not launching cold now. You're launching with data from real people of what their challenge is. And when you're launching online now, one of the things that makes your funnel successful is when you do book a free consultation, if you're really good at closing, you're going to get your ad spend back, because whatever you spent on ads, you're going to make when you close them on the phone. But if you can't close and you haven't studied our enrollment system and you launch your funnel and advertise it, you're not going to make any money. So this is the proper sequence to do it in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And there's no reason why anybody can't do phase 1 and call everybody they know, because it's the easiest thing to do. There's no reason why you can't do phase 2 and either go to networking events or just chat with people online and join groups. You know, I'm not even talking about any methodology or system of like the functionality of how Facebook works. Just literally get in there, you know, as a hack. It doesn't matter how much, like, not a, you know what I'm saying? Like a hack, not a hacker, but like you're a hack. You don't know what you're doing, right? But you literally just get in there and you talk to people. That's it. You talk to people, and if you know the methodology and you have your toolkit and you've trained on it, of here's my message and story. Some point they're going to go, what do you do? I'm curious. Let me ask questions and get data on them. Okay, here's my system I've developed. Great. Would you like a free consultation? That's all it is. And you're going to succeed. But it's the activity that's important. And it's the metric of, I need 10 a week. Yeah. That's it.
It really is just what we do normally. I mean, how much time do you spend? I'm going to ask you guys this who are watching. How much time do you spend on social media anyway, right? Rather than scrolling through and watching TikTok videos, actually go into a group that you actually find interesting, or that, and we were talking about this, Ted, because we're identifying groups that have client bases that are similar to yours, coaches, consultants, speakers, networkers, things like that. And we go into those groups, right? You're learning, you're watching, engage. Just start putting comments in there, and that conversation will take off naturally.
It's that easy, because it's a natural conversation that you've been doing your whole life, and people get freaked out to go, digital messenger, and how do you do it? Like, here's the thing. There's not one correct methodology to do it. It's the basic of communication. And when you're in a networking event, you'll feel confident when you've trained on what is my message and story. I've been teaching this for 20 years, guys. right? When you know the basic of your message. When I was at New York Life, what was your message? What's your story? What program am I selling? How do I enroll clients? I've been doing this for 20 years. So anytime I would go to a networking event and somebody goes, what do you do? I know my message, my story. I know to be curious and ask questions. And Ted, what questions do I ask? What are you curious about the person? Anything curious. There's no right or wrong question. There's not. If you wanted to make one up, be like, great, tell me about your goals for this year. What challenge are you facing in your business? Like, those are great questions, but any curious question. Number 3, do you have a system? Are you clear in your system, in your program? Number 4, book a free consultation. Do you know how to do an enrollment? That is it. And if you train on those things, which we have in our Message to Millions training and all our more advanced trainings, like our all to working with a coach, if you have that, these are the principles that help you succeed when you go online. And this is what I want you to get. We're not saying that online is so different, right, than the offline world. It's not. You don't understand the gadgets and the mechanisms, and you get stuck and you go, I don't understand this technology. If you step back and go, I'm communicating with a customer, right? When you're on Facebook and you're chatting with somebody, I'm communicating with somebody. Do I know my 4 things, my message and my story? Do I know how to ask questions to engage them? Do I know my system? And do I know how to book a free consultation? If you know that, you're going to be successful all along in that environment. And then when you know that and you go to build your funnel, you're going to be successful all day long, because somebody's going to go, well, what message do you want to give for a free gift? Okay, of the 100 people that I've talked to, what was their challenge? That's the free gift. Right? It's just that simple. And that's what you need to do to be successful in building a business like this.
I love it. And, guys, for those of you who are not already in the Facebook group, there's so much that's valuable in this Facebook group. Look, it's a free Facebook group to join, right? It's facebook.com/groups/message to millions. I'll put it back in there in the comments. Come in and join the group. You're going to be around people that are at different levels, people that are just starting, people that are massively successful. Ted goes live 2-3 times a week in this group, dropping gold. You're going to be learning from other people who are doing this very thing. You can learn more about Message to Millions in there. And today in the group, every Tuesday, there's a free gift that is in that group. So I'm going to put it back down here one more time. You can see it right here. It's facebook.com/groups/message to millions. The number 2, you can also just search it in Facebook and come and join the group. Come be a part of a growing community that's expanding. And the key thing for me, Ted, that I take away from everything that you do is that, and I'm telling you this, folks who are watching, because I know Ted, I've known him for years. Ted is about helping. These groups are about helping you grow. It's not, do we want to make money? Do we want to be successful? Absolutely. But the bottom line for that is growth and happiness and success in your life. And that's really what Ted is about. I can tell you that, point blank. So anything else you want to share with the live stream before we head out, buddy?
No, that's it. I just think like this is the kind of overview of of what to do to build a business. And now when somebody has the understanding of where they're going, then you have to dive into the tools, right? And so basically this is kind of the philosophy and the blueprint for how we teach people. And so like now you know where you're going, and now you need to understand and learn the tools that will help you get there. If you don't know your message, if you don't know your story, which most people don't, if you don't have a program, if you don't know how to enroll, if you don't have a marketing funnel, this is why people are part of our Message to Millions training. This is why people join our dream client programs to get more privatized coaching. And this is why people join our elite programs, which is like the most privatized thing that you can get with a coach that's just basically doing things with you to get things launched. So now you know where you're going, which is important because most people don't have a clear sight of it. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Awesome, guys. So, hey, make sure you check out that group. Join us. Come on in, experience it, learn more about Message to Millions, learn more about yourself. And, your destiny's kind of waiting for you there. Ted, thanks so much, buddy. And we'll see you guys soon.
My pleasure.
Bye, guys.
Cheers, guys.